It's the Ashes rivalry that resumes. Australia are without Glenn Maxwell. Australia are without Mitch Marsh. So very obvious. Though yes, we all know how inconsistent and how infuriating how Glenn Maxwell is, but he's still a very vital cog in this World Cup team. On the other hand, like you said, officially a team that's ranked number 10. They're only playing. I mean, we all know there's that one mathematical chance that they're still around, but Australia will win today and they'll make it official that they're out. But look, Champions Trophy qualification, England have to find a way to get into that top seven. Can they do it? I think all of us are very obviously not so convinced just because of, this team is what, one, I think the points table will be up now. They've won 5 out of 6 and they've lost 4 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. Where will England find the motivation? We've seen the contract issue has boiled over with a very visibly frustrated and angry, in fact, David Willey saying, I'm done after this. And just coming back to the press conference, Joe Root, I mean, I said it yesterday, Meha, this seems to be a Joe Root who's really just doesn't have much else going on. Why he's in this World Cup, Chetan has brought it up a couple of times that Joe Root ideally would not have been here had a captain like Owen Morgan been around. So to me, just sour grapes, a frustrated great of the game who knows he's let his team down. His team has let everyone else down. And I found that comment just absurd, that I wouldn't swap this team for Australia. Hello, this team is number 3 on the points table, They've won, I think, 4 in a row, and they are going to the semi-final, whereas you are going back. So good to have some banter, good to see this storied rivalry work out. But to my mind, England are on another hiding coming up very, very soon.
Losing Glenn Maxwell. First of all, I want to know what is it that these cricketers are doing when they play golf? Because I've never heard an international golfer get injured like cricketers have on the golf course, falling off a golf cart. I don't know how one can explain that. And this is a freak injury. You remember what happened with Glenn Maxwell, where he fell down in a party, his own party, I think. So, yeah, that is bizarre. But to then this to happen in a World Cup is absolutely crazy. How big a blow is that for Australia, though? Glenn Maxwell, fastest 100, ever. He's out. Mitchell Marsh has flown back for personal reasons. Will that be impacting Australia today?
Well, hello, Meha. Yes, definitely it will be impacting. There's no doubt about that. I mean, Maxwell, as you mentioned, the fastest 100. Mitchell Marsh, as you mentioned, he's impacted Australia's top order in a lot of different ways. He's picked up a couple of wickets as well. So whenever you're shuffling around the team, it obviously is going to affect. There's no doubt about that. It's just how good are the replacements? And today Marcus Stoinis is fit and Cameron Green is expected to play. So in that particular sense, they are set. And it gives another opportunity to Travis Head to, have a fast start. But then you don't have the comfort of Mitchell Marsh at 3. And then Steve Smith and Labuschagne, again, have to move around their batting position. So it's just a matter of making things work against an English side, which is probably not at its highest in terms of confidence and motivation or inspiration. And let me just say, Joe Root will probably not find a spot in that Australian team at the moment. He came into this tournament with 1 half-century in 10 innings. Ideally, he shouldn't be finding a spot in that English 11. Yeah. He's just there because he's Joe Root and he's good friends with Joss Buttler. And they're trying to, compensate him for a great test series or whatever. He doesn't find a spot in an ODI 11 in 2023. And I think if you have to begin what's gone wrong with England, that's where you begin with, really. But yeah, Australia, I think they are in a good position. They wouldn't want to lose any momentum. I think they are really flying high in terms of confidence. But it's just that one of those games, Australia versus England, it's very, very tough to predict what's going to happen. Couple wickets, Australia, we saw they bowled well against India. Let's not take that away. They bowled and fielded well against India. It's their batting which is, gone on a holiday somewhere and it's not been found. So from that perspective, I think Australia will be wary, but will be confident going into this game. And if I can just say, I was not there on the evening show last night.
I know what's coming.
I have to say this, it's the only time I've gotten it right. It's the only time in this tournament I've gotten it right. I'll retire from making predictions after this. I said 180 and Afghanistan will win. 179. They chased 180. I have to say this. I mean, I'm retiring from making predictions after this.
How did I know that when Chetan would come back today, he'd have to put that in and somewhere in the show that, look, I was right with my predictions. But okay, coming back to this match. Let's set this up for you. Today's second match is a must-win for England to stay in qualification for the 2025 Champions Trophy. The defending champions have lost 4 on the trot and 5 in 6 overall. A defeat to Australia today will officially just push them out of the World Cup and leave their chances of making the top 8 even tougher. Trust Australia to be the team standing in England's way. The third place team in the tournament will be without Glenn Maxwell, who injured himself on the golf green. He fell off a golf cart, and Mitchell Marsh, who's flown home for personal reasons. But with 4 wins in a row, Pat Cummins' team is on a roll, and they'll aim to beat the team officially ranked the worst in the tournament after 2 losses to India and South Africa. Australia have 3 times in a row scored 350 or more. And with Travis Head back as the opener, they look a much tougher team. England, by contrast, they've managed a total of 455 runs in their last 3 matches. But nothing gets England more charged up than playing against Australia. So, expect them to come all guns blazing, whatever 3 or 4 guns that are left right now, given that the others have checked out, Jamie. But let's talk about how good Australia have been since that turnaround against Sri Lanka. To start in the way they did and then bounce back, only a team like Australia can do it. Right now, how strong is this team batting-wise in these conditions with Travis Head coming back? Just not even England, but in the tournament, looking at semi-finals.
No, they're very, very good. And I think the one thing, yes, Chetan and I, our prediction record is very, very poor. But one thing the 3 of us have agreed on is that despite those 2 losses, we never went as far as to say that this team is out of the World Cup, because we know what this team does. So nobody should be saying big statement this team has made. And we've discussed, Meha, all through that rocky period where we had doubts over the Indian team's calls and selections and statements. We kept saying, look, only one team in the last 8 years has come to India and managed to win bilateral series twice, and that's Australia. Yes, their form tapered off in that one-day series against South Africa, and they really weren't taking that 3-match series against India seriously at all. But look what they've done. They've got David Warner, who was widely written off. He's come back. He's done very well. Mitchell Marsh has got a couple innings. Yes, Labuschagne and Steve Smith still remain. I think we'll all agree here as well. They remain very visible weak links. But what you got with Travis Head coming back is an outstanding opening pair. Look at their opening stands. 175 Warner and Head. Usse pehle when Babar Azam made the same mistake, and I'm sure we'll talk about his second mistake in Bangalore as the show goes on. They put on 259, and despite losing, I think 180 odd for 9 thereon, they still got to 360 odd. So this team, yes, the bowling it's done the job. Adam Zampa, a bowler who Chetan and I tipped before this World Cup to have a bumper series. It took him 2 matches to get going, but look what the guy's done. I think 16 wickets in 4 games. So things are falling in place for them, but let's be a little cautious about this match. I know I said that they will win easily. Not having Mitchell Marsh and not having Glenn Maxwell, what it does is it reduces the chances of, in case Warner and Head don't fire, then you're left with that really untested middle order. I don't know whether Cameron Green will play. I'm assuming Marcus Stoinis comes back. I don't remember when he last played. I think he played against Sri Lanka and Lucknow. So there are various choices Australia have to make. But that said, despite England having some good bowlers, I don't think even against this weakened Australian side, they'll put up a fight.
Okay, now this is what Ben Stokes has to say about England's campaign in this tournament. We've often asked this question, especially in the last week or so, what seems to have gone wrong with England, and no one can quite put a finger on it. But Ben Stokes says it as he sees it. He says, we've been crap. Not having an answer and being able to understand as to why it's gone wrong, it's very simple. That's the answer, because if we knew what had gone wrong, we would have been able to fix it. But unfortunately, we don't. It's just been one of those tournaments where, it's been a disaster and there's no point sugarcoating it. The problem is that we have been crap. This is what Ben Stokes has said, and you know what? I'm gonna just really commend him for saying that, because that's exactly what has happened with this team, Chetan. I know that whenever a team's not doing well, and especially a team like England, defending champions, Pakistan, of course, we understand the moment they start doing badly, there are conspiracy theories, and some of them are actually true as well, with, a rift in the team. But in their case, it has clearly been just team collectively failing match after match and then not being able to recover from those failures.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's nothing that you can keep a finger on really in England's case. I mean, in the first few games, their bowling just didn't match up their fast bowlers who've had experience in the IPL, not able to figure out length. I think only Adil Rashid was performing. Moeen Ali did well in the first game, and they really just dropped him after that. I mean, in a tournament where very few decisions of England have made sense, that one actually bamboozled me, because I was like, you dropped Moeen Ali. I mean, England has always been a team of good all-rounders, and you dropped Moeen Ali. And since then, like I said, I mean, then it shifted to their batting. They haven't really scored runs. You look at Joss Butler, he's managed 100 runs in 6 matches. Liam Livingston, he's apparently the big hitter and this and that, all of that. He's like the Glenn Maxwell version of England, really. You know, really overrated, can't really perform when it really matters. We'll score the odd 100, fastest 100 against somebody like Netherlands, and then, Maxwell. And similarly, Livingston. But then when it really matters, he just doesn't come and deliver the goods. Harry Brook, he should have been playing, majority of the games, but they haven't really figured out their batting lineup. And again, as I said, in the 2019 England side, there would be no place for David Malan and Eoin Morgan. That's where you start. That's where they've just got it wrong. They pride themselves in their attacking display, attacking game. You have David Malan and Joe Root in the top 3. What attacking game are you talking about? So, like Ben Stokes said, I mean, they should make a T-shirt. We have been crap, and they should sell that T-shirt as 2023 World Cup memorabilia. Maybe the Barmy Army can help sell it. I don't know. That makes a really good T-shirt. We are crap. We've been crap. I think that's a really good T-shirt slogan from Ben Stokes, and I think he, like you said, he's said it as they've seen it. What is the worst thing? I mean, imagine Bairstow comes out, my run out. I mean, he's done it twice himself, so he's still crying about it. And then you had Moeen Ali, we want to entertain. Then Trescothick comes and says, this is good practice in Lucknow, where there's no test match. Good practice for 5 months later, when we are coming for a test series. And then their coach Matthew Mott comes out and says, I did not know the Champions Trophy qualification. And even if that's not the worst part, he said.
Yeah.
The worst bit he said is, even if we knew, it would not make a difference to our performance. Oh my God. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's just the way things have been with England, but they still don't want to accept it, because this is what Joe Root said, but Jamie was referring to a little bit earlier on the show. He says, man for man, I'd have this team every day over the Australians. He says, we might not have played as well as we can do, but we know that when we play our best stuff, the best teams struggle to compete with us. I look at this team and it's more than capable of achieving way more than it has done throughout this tournament. Then he goes on to say, with the quality of players we have, we should be sat right at the top of this table. We all know that, and we're all very frustrated that isn't the case. Interestingly, if you were to make a combined 11 today between the England team and the Australia team for the World Cup, not a single England player would find a place there, be it when it comes to their batting or their bowling. That's how shoddy England have been, Jamie. But now let's come to a conversation that we all so enjoyed yesterday. Chetan wasn't there. Vedam had joined us on the show because it came down to how bizarre Pakistan cricketers have been in this tournament. Hassan Raza taking the cake, like I said yesterday, about doubting the balls that are being used by the Indian bowlers. He went on national television back home in Pakistan to say that, look, I feel those the balls that Indian bowlers have been given, they need to be inspected, they need to be checked by the ICC because there's something wrong. How is it that Indian bowlers are bowling so well? How is it that they are able to swing and seam the ball? So he says, we can't understand that when India bats, their players bat comfortably, but when their Indian bowling starts, we've seen that some DRS decisions, around 7 to 8, to have gone in India's favour. When it comes to bowling, the likes of Mohammad Shami and Mohammad Siraj are bowling like we used to face Alan Donald and Micaiah Anthony, who would bowl with the balls which shine on the one side and rough on the other. Then he says the ball would seam and reverse swing. That's not all. Then he goes on to say that there is something wrong with these balls because they seem doctored. This is what he said. We laughed about it. We would have loved to have Chetan on the show, but he wasn't there. I'm sure he can react to it today. But he's Hassan Raza, absolutely bizarre in this accusation where he's saying the balls ICC and BCCI are giving, or the third umpire, there should be a spec check of these balls. Look how Shami had bowled the very first delivery against Patham Nisanka. Oh, this is against Sri Lanka into the stumps. Okay, this is about Shami. After one team had received hammering in the first innings, the wicket started falling as if we were watching highlights on television. Now, Akash Chopra said, if this is satire, please say it. If it's a comedy show, please say, don't say this is serious cricket analysis. Mitchell McClanagan, he spoke about it and said, boss, what is this? If it's satire, please put that out there. Wasim Akram, he has now reacted to this, and let's put that quote up and come to Chetan. He's already laughing. He says, their mind is not there. Beizati apni te karani hai, sadi vi na karao puri duniya vich. You're shaming yourself, but don't humiliate us in front of the world. At toss umpires and the match referee, they are 4 to 5 people who bring the box containing 12 balls. The team bowling first picks 2 balls and gives them to the umpires as their first and second choice balls. Then the same box is taken to the dressing room of the other team. They to pick the balls of their choice and give it to the umpire. Mind you, this all is happening in presence of 4 to 5 people. Then who thinks of all this? This is Wasim Akram talking about Hassan Raza and his accusation. And then he goes on to say that there is an argument for the last 3 or 4 days in our country that other than the Indians, bowlers are not able to swing the ball. But also think that maybe the Indian bowlers have learned something more. Maybe they are better right now. Appreciate them. Chetan, this is absolutely comical now. Things that are coming out of Pakistan. I was all okay. This is also entertaining actually. But I was okay when, they were saying 8 kilo, they're eating nihari khate. That is fine. But this kind of absolutely random accusation from a former Pakistan cricketer, first of all, that is shocking. And then thank you, Wasim Akram, for explaining it to anybody else who had any doubts.
I mean, it didn't really need any explanation. I mean, all the former cricketers know this, and I think people who cover cricket also know how the balls are selected. But Wasim Akram, I mean, I love his Punjabi accent, and you should have shown the clip. I know it's not possible, but you should have shown the clip. Hamari बेइज्जतियां भी करांदे हो, खुद की बेइज्जतियां करांदे हो, हमारी तो ना कराया करो. I'm a Punjabi, but I can't speak as well as Wasim Akram. But coming to Hassan Raza, when I read that statement, statements like this really make me wish that maybe I should have played a first-class game and become an ex-cricketer, and I would have been invited on such shows and make stupid statements, and still continue to be invited on such shows and still continue to make stupid statements. That's what ex-cricketers do, most of them. I mean, there are some bona fide legends like Wasim Akram who understand the game and explain the game. And then there are the rest. Make stupid statements because they're ex-cricketers, nobody questions them, and then they're invited again and they still keep making stupid statements. So it's a charmed life that ex-cricketers live, you've played the game, know how it's done. But okay, must be something wrong because, ex-cricketer hai, kuch bhi bol sakte hai, that kind of thing. So when I listen to statements like this, it really makes me wish, I should have been an ex-cricketer as well, and I could have gotten away with anything that I say without any reasoning, just because it is against India or it's against Pakistan. So it is the dumbest thing that I've heard this World Cup. And I think if that's one trophy that Pakistan would like to win, please, you're welcome to it.
I feel like they've given us a lot of entertainment. He's also added to this, and Wasim Akram has also added to that, where he's gone on the panel and he's praised Indian bowling, and he says they worked a lot on their wrist position and their seam position. In slow motion shots, you can see that seam position and movement clearly. We don't praise or try to learn from the success of someone else. Our first thought is always negative. And negative, that's how did he get this? Instead, we should learn that. They've done exceptionally well, and Indian bowlers are leading the pack in this World Cup. There was somebody who also suggested on this same, was it on the other one, where he said that maybe there's a microchip in the ball that's being given to so this is, I think on the same panel, there is Shoaib Malik on this panel. Misbah often comes on that show as well. And there is Moin Khan and Wasim Akram. But the other one, that's another show where Hassan Raza is sitting and giving all this gyan. That's a different show. This is a different show. But that's the reaction. Jamie, you have the final word on this one. Come on. It was interesting to say that they come from that ecosystem, and I think one needs to understand that as well. They come from an ecosystem where this was something that they were doing at one point, right? We had this conversation yesterday as well, and I think who will know doctoring the balls better than Pakistani former cricketers?
I mean, like I said yesterday, right? If before this banal statement, your biggest claim to fame was apparently making your test debut at the age of 3 or something, and then the PCP had to retract that statement after medical checks were done. I mean, they wanted us to believe. I remember we watched highlights on DD. There were pictures of this boy. I was in high school, boarding school. Iski moochi aa rahi thi, and they're saying कि ये 14 साल 262 दिन का, you know. So come on. I mean, that was Hassan Raza. In my mind, that was Hassan Raza. Forget the fact that he never got to play more than 15 test matches, and he remains a colossal failure for someone who apparently made his test debut at 14. And then you see his comment, and you mentioned the different shows. There's a reason Hassan Raza is not on the other shows with Wasim Akram and Misbah. These guys have done something, right? So again, I mean, a Pakistani complaining about the ball doing things. Let's just leave it there, you know, and move on.
Okay, now coming back to today's game, one team that'll be happy if Australia lose is Afghanistan, because then they'll really fancy their chances. They play Australia next. But what they did yesterday was they once again told the world that they're not just here as minnows or as a team, trying to cause few upsets. They are in true reckoning for that top 4. So Afghanistan defeated Netherlands by 7 wickets, chasing down 180 for their 3rd win in a row to keep their semi-final hopes alive. The win put Afghanistan in the 5th position in that standings with 8 points, just behind New Zealand on net run rate. For a team that had just 1 win in their previous 2 World Cups, winning 4 in this edition is a massive achievement for this Afghanistan side, who will now play Australia and South Africa in the hopes of making it to the final 4. Chasing 180 after they lost the toss, Afghanistan were 55 for 2 before Rahmat Shah continued his form with 52 off 54 balls, and skipper Hashmatullah Shahidi finished the chase with 56 not out. How good have they been in chases? There's India and then there's Afghanistan. Both teams have been chasing well, Chetan, in this tournament. There's absolute calm. At no point in that chase or any of the last 3 matches that they've played where one felt that, oh my gosh, this may go wrong. Maybe South Africa needs to learn a thing or two from Afghanistan.
Maybe they need to hire the coach. Let's talk about the Afghanistan batsmen first. I mean, they've done brilliantly. I mean, to learn from their batting failure against Sri Lanka, they'll be kicking themselves for losing that game. New Zealand also, I think they were really overconfident, got carried away. I think could have done better with the bat there. But overall, this team has just improved leaps and bounds. And I've said this before, maybe a couple more batsmen, this will be a world-beating side. They're not very far away from it. And I think they would do really well in the T20 format, where the format, the 20-over format, reduces the gap between 2 sides. I think they will be a handful next year in the T20 World Cup on those pitches. The Caribbean pitches can be slow. They can take a bit of turn. They can be up and down. I think they will be a handful. Afghanistan would be I don't know. Maybe will there be dark horses? I don't know. I mean, it'll just depend on the kind of form they take into that tournament. But they will be in the reckoning for the knockouts in that tournament. But again, let's look at this tournament. How that change has come about. I think Jonathan Trott, master batsman for England. There's no doubt that this improvement in batting in Afghanistan ranks has come via Jonathan Trott. And we saw that whiteboard. That's just one example of how you break down chases, how you teach a team to really bat. There's a lot of work going on there, a lot of long drills, figuring out how to bat in the middle, how to bat together, how to stitch partnerships, mix it with big shots. It's just not one element, right? It's an entire thing. So I think Jonathan Trott, a lot of credit goes to him. Maybe he can teach South Africa a bit. I think he can teach the English side a lot. Somewhere, I think in England they're getting ready to say, Brandon McCullum is the coach of the year or coach of the decade. Give it to Jonathan Trott instead. Give it to Jonathan Trott.
No, absolutely. Jamie, which is one thing that Jonathan Trott himself has spoken about, what went into preparation for this World Cup is that a lot of these players are playing different T20 leagues all around the world. So to get them together and to tell them that you've got to have the ODI mindset, the batting, you've got to slow down, you've got to play the situation, So it's almost like you unlearn what you've learned playing in these leagues and then play this in a completely different manner, which seems to have worked really well because of these chases. What else can one see in the way they've gone about these chases, not just breaking it down, but also changing the mindset, saying ki T20 style mein nahi khilna hai abhi. We've got to just, which is what you've seen from these guys.
Look, and exactly, I mean, I think Jonathan Trott should get a lot of the credit because look, what has led to their rise is these T20 leagues and the exposure. So it's a double-edged sword. A lot of their players have gained in confidence. They've gained financially. They've gained in stature, and their skills have been seriously enhanced by the amount of T20 leagues they play. I think after West Indies, maybe it's the Afghans who've got the biggest presence when you talk about global leagues. But then it needs a Jonathan Trott to come and say, you know what? It's not just about bowling 4 overs. I mean, look at Pakistan. Shadab Khan came into this World Cup as their best spinner. He's such a different spinner when he has to bowl 4 overs in 2 spells. And look at the match going on right now. This Pakistan team has dropped all their spinners, So it just shows, yes, T20 can take you a long way, but if you don't keep pace with the one-day game, it's going to bite you. England are also an example of this. But just coming back to Afghanistan, I think I checked they played 28 or 29 matches between these 2 World Cups. That's just not enough for a side to expect to compete. So despite that, if they're here, this is outstanding. I think Jonathan Trott has been a great example. But I think what Afghanistan will do is going from 83 for 1 against Bangladesh to, I think, under 160, if I'm not wrong. 155, I think they were bowled out for. Had they not choked in that match and blown away a great start, this team right now would be sitting on 10 points. Outstanding what they've done. No one thought this, but they made a huge costly error in that first match, and things would have been very, very different had they been on 10 points. We wouldn't be talking about Pakistan, New Zealand right now.
Yeah. You know what? We are going to be talking about Pakistan, New Zealand because of the kind of hiding that Pakistan are getting in this match against New Zealand. Babar Azam's second decision at Bangalore's Chinnaswamy Stadium to field has gone completely wrong for them. I mean, New Zealand are cruising, and how Rachin Ravindra scoring his 3rd 100 of the tournament, 108 of 94 deliveries. Kane Williamson comes back and he scored 95 of 79 deliveries. This looks like Pakistan possibly are looking at, their hopes of making it to the semi-finals evaporating at this point in the way New Zealand are playing. Chetan, 261. They've just lost another wicket of Kane Williamson, which is disappointing and sad given how well he was batting. But they're on top. They're in the best position right now. And do you see Pakistan recovering from here?
I mean, it's sport. Anything is possible, so they can recover. I mean, if New Zealand have a collapse and put 320 on the board, finish at 320, anything is possible. But we'll come to that. we've been making a lot of wrong predictions on the show. So you learn that, okay, chasing is perhaps not the best idea. The captains will keep on doing it because of the due factor. And then you see Babar Azam making that kind of mistake again. What I'm trying to say is that we learn as analysts or as journalists, we learn why these decisions are going wrong, why chasing is not the best option in this World Cup. So something of that also applies to these captains and the team think tanks, Mickey Arthur's been crying about security. If there was no security, he would still be crying. If there is security, he's still crying. Excuses, excuses, excuses. Maybe he should devote more time to figuring out what his team is doing. I texted immediately as I saw what has happened. Then I saw the teams. I texted a friend who's covering this game in Bangalore and I asked him, is this the England-Sri Lanka pitch or is this the Australia-Pakistan pitch? Because there were two different pitches at Chinnaswamy. And Australia-Pakistan was a batsman-friendly pitch, and you could see why Pakistan chose to chase in that game. Due factor, a good batting pitch, Chinnaswamy helps chasing, whatever happened there. But then you saw the England-Sri Lanka pitch, and it was like, okay, it was not a similar batting track. There was some element of spin. England didn't do well. Sri Lanka were able to choke them and then chase it down easily. So I texted him, what pitch is that? And he said, no, it's not the England-Sri Lanka pitch.
It's Australia-Pakistan.
Maybe it's the Australia-Pakistan pitch, but it's not similar to that batting beauty. It's a different pitch. And I am here thinking, okay, you won the toss and decided to chase. You played 4 fast bowlers. Then you introduced spin in the 6th over. Make that make sense. 4 fast bowlers and spin in the 6th over. And then I asked him, why do you think, my friend, my colleague, why do you think Pakistan decided to field four fast bowlers and then chase? And he's like, they were looking for movement in the morning. You're playing in Bangalore. You're not playing in Dharamshala. Look outside the window.
Yeah. How does one explain that?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, it's just beyond me, yeah.
And the other problem being that everybody, all the captains who have taken this decision to chase in this tournament has been about due. You are putting your team out in the morning game to field first. Explain that as well.
New Zealand.
There is no due.
New Zealand.
Yeah.
Yeah, New Zealand opted to field in the day game against Australia, but that was Dharamshala. There also they gave the same reason, early movement.
Yeah,
but this is Bangalore.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get early movement here.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
Okay. Jamie, it'll never make sense to you because you've been the one person. Sunte kyun nahi hai, yaar? Why aren't they listening to you? You've been saying it from day one.
Look, I'll tell you, this is the 35th match of this World Cup, and I know the result. I think we all know the result. At the end of this match, the results will say that after 35 matches, teams that have opted to bat first have won 3 and lost 11, and teams that have opted to field first have won 6 and lost 15. It's not a massive difference when you look at it stats-wise, head-to-head, but the stats, I mean, Chetan will be very glad to hear I'm saying this. Stats, in this case, don't tell the true story. There's enough examples. Tom Latham, chalo, Dharamshala, I'll give you that, Chetan. I'll give you that. Morning game.
Yeah.
Babar Azam, I mean, Bangalore. And also Bangalore, you've done this. I get the argument if it was the Sri Lankan pitch, but even more than that, I'd say, wouldn't your gut feel say, yaar, hum ek baar kar chuke hain, dobara kyun kare, and you gave, and that team, that day Australia was on course for 425 or 430. Tumne roka unko. That's because Maxwell played a useless shot and Steve Smith and Labuschagne slowed down. But sometimes beyond whiteboards and laptops and analysts, don't you just get a sense that, yaar, aaj kuch different kare, And like Chetan said, I wasn't aware that the sixth over was bowled by a spinner, and that too, Iftikhar Chacha. I mean, you came in here with 3 spinners, and now you've done what I've been saying because you realized, arey yaar, ye to spinner hai nahi actually, right? So it just boggles the mind.
Late to be realizing that ye to aapka spinner hai nahi, that he's not going to be really giving. He's not been impactful as well, which is the other thing. There's one thing that he's, broken partnerships, but he hasn't been good for them. Okay, there's the other match. Let's come back to it because England have won the toss and they have opted to field. Nobody is listening to us. Nobody is watching us. Nobody is listening to us because once again, England have won the toss at the Narendra Modi Stadium and they have opted to bowl. This is the same Jos Butler who at the Wankhede said that, you know what, I think we did a big mistake by bowling first. But right now, Jos Butler saying we'll bowl first, little bit tacky, should get better as the game goes on. We'll have to bat better. Had some time away from the game, which was nice, and then back to practice. And he's saying playing against Australia is always good, plenty to play for, some pride, and there's Champions Trophy place to secure this. And Jos Butler and England have gone in with the same team. Pat Cummins at the toss says we were batting, so he's happy batting and setting a big total, which is what they look to do. Not too fussed about losing the toss, of course, because you don't have to bowl. England have done the job for you. Our opening batters are looking good. Stoinis and Cam Green come into the 11 in place of Maxwell and Marsh. So those are the two changes for them. We know that Maxwell is injured. Marsh has flown back home due to personal reasons. So Marcus Stoinis, who was also nursing an injury, he is back, he's fit, he's back, and Cameron Green is back in the 11. So those are the changes for them. This clash always has a bit of spice. This is what Pat Cummins is saying. A great time to play them, and I'm looking forward to it. Every time I'm reading about Pat Cummins, I keep going back to when he just couldn't control and he had to sort of choke himself to stop laughing when he was asked about England's agony. This must really make every Australian happy, given the kind of controversies we saw during the Ashes. It's not been too long. You know, all those conversations around moral victories. Right now, Australia must be thrilled that England are tottering at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, I mean, Pat Cummins, sheepish smile, trying to hide it, trying to not laugh. You know, he should be an Emmy contender for best performance in a comedy role. Next year. I think that was amazing to see. And you know, the only thing that beats it is Joe Root saying that I won't have an Australian team in. You can't even make the Australian first side. Come on. I think, as always, England, they don't learn, do they? It is the same thing with Pakistan. Why would you saw what happened under lights in Lucknow. You've seen that before. Why would you, bowl first on this wicket? You've seen what India did to Pakistan. So there are a lot of ifs and buts there. So a lot of variations, a lot of variables. I think England have to approach this from a Champions Trophy qualification perspective. They're playing 3 games in the next week. So I think they need to win all those 3 games, or maybe even 2, to probably qualify for the Champions Trophy. And I think that's their goal now. Mathematically, yes, they're still in a race for semi-final until they lose today, but I think that's going to end today. Australia, I think that's the more interesting point. India, South Africa, Australia, 3 teams who are in the top 4 have had the toss. And I think they've all lost the toss in their last 3 games. I think Australia lost today, India lost the toss. And I think South Africa also lost the toss against New Zealand, didn't they? And all 3 captains said, we would have liked to bat first.
Yeah.
The tide is turning.
Yeah.
They've learned. The tide is turning. These teams, now they are doing well. Now they have understood. And the reason they are doing well is because now they understand. They've been impulsed with the situation. You know, there are different things. First 5 matches, the tournament is different. But now you can't take as many risks. You can't, keep on making those permutations, combinations. Lights ke andar ye hoga, dew aa gayi to ye hoga. No. Perfect batting conditions, sunlight, score runs, put it on the board, get the scorecard, pressure. 230 runs India put, and they were still able to put England under pressure. So these 3 teams in the top 4, something to play for, a lot on the stake. I think, from that perspective,
yeah, it's advantage.
The tide is turning.
Yeah, and also the advantage Australia straight away. Again. Why would right now Australia feel the pressure? I mean, I'm guessing England are not feeling the pressure because they're completely out of the race, but you would still want to win. I mean, why wouldn't you want to at least try to win and also try to qualify for the Champions Trophy? But what they've done is, in case now, they've set themselves up for another pressure game in case Australia on that pitch at the Narendra Modi Stadium set up 320, 350 plus target.
I mean, look, you're looking at Jos Butler doing the same thing he did at the Wankhede. I mean, I'm not saying the Narendra Modi Stadium is as batting friendly as the Wankhede. But
Yeah.
there are 320, 330 is doable here. Look at the first match.
First match,
Chetan
yeah.
will tell you, New Zealand were exceptional despite not having, I think, Ferguson and Saudi. Ish Sodhi also had some kind of a spasm. I can't remember. But despite not being, having the first choice attack, they kept them to 282. So runs are out there, and you've just seen. I mean, David Warner again. I think he's got to 500 runs, if I'm not mistaken. He's back in form. You have Travis Head is here. I'll go back to how many whiteboard meetings, how many laptop sessions, how many iced tea, chai lattes have you had to sit and discuss over what your best laid plans are? I would say, had you, like, I think you're right, Mia, when you mentioned that not a single England player from this World Cup would make anyone's top 10. Nothing is going for you, right? You've already blundered twice by making the wrong call. What are you thinking? There's not going to be dew in Ahmedabad. You don't have the bowlers. David Willey is operating as your best player because he's angry. He's pissed off. Nobody else is angry because this team is like this. Acha, tu bhi haar raha hai, chal main tere liye haarta hu. Feeling down. And this is a very English thing. I remember in the 90s, I used to love watching England team because they were not used to winning. They would lose and they'd happy going to the pub and like crying into their lukewarm beer. So they like being down and out. Beach mein, that 2005 Ashes, oh crap, we've actually won something. So their England ecosystem changed,
Yeah.
This Australian team, David Warner, Travis Head, they must be laughing inside. They gave us batting. Chalo. And if Warner and Travis Head keep doing not just the World Cup, what they've been doing as a pair for the last 18 months, this could just be another disaster for England.
Yeah, they've set themselves up for this. No one can, no, they want to know what's going wrong. This is also going wrong. You need to be able to figure this out. You've made that mistake once. You've said you've made a mistake and you've again gone and done it. Maybe that's another thing that's going wrong. But prediction times, guys, before I just quickly take some Indian news as well. Chetan?
The Australia game?
Yeah.
300, I would say. It's not the best batting track of the tournament. The ball tends to go soft. Again, I don't know what pitch they are playing on. But on both pitches, we've seen the ball go soft. So I would say just about 300. That'll still be enough for England.
Jimmy?
330.
Wow. Okay. Okay, 330 with Australia winning, I'm guessing. Okay, now for the Indian team. In what is a big blow for the Indian team? All-rounder Hardik Pandya, he's been ruled out of this World Cup after failing to recover from his ankle injury. The ICC has confirmed this now. Hardik had limped off after putting his right foot to stop a drive from Bangladesh's Liton Das in the game in Pune. Hardik lost his balance while trying to stop what was 4 off his own bowling and then lost his balance, dragged his right boot, landed on the pitch in an awkward way, got up, he looked in discomfort, and then he was rushed to the National Cricket Academy for his rehab. The tournament's event technical committee has approved Seema Prasiddha Krishna as Pandya's replacement. The 27-year-old who's made a comeback after a long injury layoff. He's played 17 ODIs for India and has bagged 29 wickets. Now, the Indian team, let's also put those visuals up. The Indian team have reached Kolkata and they are looking ahead to their game against South Africa. That's a big one. If India want to continue this streak, this winning streak, if they want to be undefeated in the league stages, then that's the big match for them against South Africa, who are in red hot form. At the Eden Gardens, as you can see, visuals of the Indian team reaching Kolkata. Fans gathered in hordes to just get a glimpse of their favorite players as they drove past them, chanting their names, cheering for this team. And this is the kind of impression that now people have about this team, that they've been invincible, they're playing at home, but they've been playing in such an impressive manner that you can't help but, be their fans. And that's what you can see. That this team was already so popular, but now all these players have been winning, they've been performing well, scoring runs, taking wickets. Yep, it's just been exceptional to watch in the way this Indian team have dominated this World Cup. So, lots to look forward to. This match is tomorrow at the Eden Gardens in Kolkata. But Hardik Pandya's news. How big a blow is this for India? Let's find out from our experts before we wrap this up. Jamie?
Massive, because of the status that he occupies in this team, the vice captain, and what he's done, and the balance just gets thrown out of whack. But I'm going to say something, probably I might be in the minority here. I don't feel, because with each passing win this Indian team has taken, my faith in this team has just gone through the roof. If you look at it stats-wise, Hardik Pandya has not had an impact on this World Cup, stats-wise, in terms of batting and in terms of bowling. So he's not being missed for his skills. That said, when he's not there, Indian team is forced to make some very, very tough calls. But look at what one injury has done. It's given us, to me personally, the treat of this World Cup. Had Hardik Pandya not been injured, Shami was not playing more than 2 matches, Yes, the batting becomes very, very thin. But I'm saying this as a massive positive, because what you've gained by losing Hardik Pandya, and it might come back to bite you in the semi-final, because we know on his day what Hardik Pandya can do. But right now, India are not missing him. They've dodged 2 bullets. And what they've gained by Hardik Pandya not being around is a bowler with 14 wickets in 4 matches. So if Hardik Pandya were to come back, they would have had to drop Suryakumar Yadav. But my faith in that man has increased. I think he's going to make up for Hardik Pandya's loss. I'm saying, probably nobody will agree with me, not going to matter to India.
No, but I think you've made a valid point. I would have taken Chetan's reaction as well, but we're completely out of time. We've already gone beyond our time. Tomorrow it is then. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us here. Chetan as well as Jamie. We've got to wrap this up, but there's already an excellent match on, and the other one that is going to start in just a bit. So Saturday is packed for me and for you. Hopefully we'll enjoy this game. That's it from us. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.
News 9 big coverage of 5 assembly polls. Mandate 2023. Hamas attacks Israel. Israel Defense Forces strike back at Hamas. As the war unfolds, watch the comprehensive coverage of the Israel war only on News 9 Plus. To watch the full story, download the app now.
There are 22 Arab countries in the world